Well, everybody, here's part 3 of my Lewiston Media Collection for 2025 edition. And good morning to you all. And happy Wednesday. So, anyways, no time to waste. Let's get on with the video. As always, starting with the clamshells, 2 cut box, and the rest are slip covers. So, anyways, here we go. Starting with the clamshells. Got this tape from the OUI thrift store back in, I think, April of 2019, I think. June 2nd, 1995. And yes, I did fix the PG rated because this movie's not rated G, the movie's rated PG, so yep. And pretty good 1995 movie, by the way, that I watched a couple times. So, yep. Had taped since February of 2020, before the pandemic begins, just a few weeks later. October 14th, 1999. And the 41st week of 1999. I think I had tape since 2021 that I got from the St. Vince de Paul thrift store. October 9th, October 8th, 1997, and the 41st week of 1997. Got tape from Goodwill while I'm on vacation to Lewiston back in August of 2016. Before we moved there a year later. So, yep. July 20th and July 25th, 2003. And the 30th week of 2003. Had taped since October of 2017. And this tape is white, in case you haven't noticed. September 17th, 2002. I think this tape has the same print date as Bob the Builder's Bob's White Christmas, the 2002 print with 2002 previews. Classic 1976 movie. Of course, I had tape since May of 2020 or June of 2020 that I got from the OUI thrift store, brand new, factory sealed. October 24th, 2003, so printed a week before Halloween of that year. I think I got this tape from the OUI thrift store or St. Vincent. Probably a bit around 2020, I think, before the pandemic begins. And needs a rewatch soon, so yep. September 9th and September 17th, 2001. Got this tape from the OUI thrift store back in April of 2018. And this is my first time going there, I think. October 10th, 1997. And the 41st week of 1997. Got this tape from the OUI thrift store back in June of 2020. And I used to have another copy back in 2024, or 2014, I mean, but it got broke. And I used to have another copy, which is the 1999 VHS of this movie back in 2013, but got rid of it. And now I had tape since 2020, which I got, like I said, from the OUI thrift store. April 18th, 1992, and April 19th, 1992. Got this tape from the Youth Ranch back in April of 2021. October 3rd, 1997. And this is a reprint. But even though this tape is, when I popped in a tape, this tape is from 1996. So, yep. Got this tape from the St. Vincent de Paul thrift store back in July of 2020. 2017, shortly after we moved to Lewiston. So, yep. October 11th, 1996. And the 41st week of 1996. I think I got this tape before the pandemic begins at the Salvation Army thrift store. June 25th, 2003 and July 31st, 2003. And finally, here's the last clamshell for this part. And then we'll get to the cut boxes and the slip covers. And I've finally had this tape since February of 2020, just a few weeks before the pandemic begins. January 11th, 2002. And that's it for the clamshells. And now let's get to the two cut boxes I'm about to show right now. And then we'll get to the rest of the slip covers. And I found this tape at the storage unit while my dad and I clean up. Excellent 1989 movie right here. April 24th, 1990. And I think, printed the 17th week of 1990. And finally, here's the last cut box for this video. And I found this tape at the Salvation Army thrift store back in June of 2020. And of course, this movie's from my childhood. So just let you all know. July 25th, 2002. That's it for the cut box. And now the rest are slip covers. So, yep. And I found this tape at a Salvation Army thrift store back in 2021, I think. Or no. Yeah, 2021. That's it. October 24th, 2001, so printed a week before Halloween of that year. and the 42nd week of 2001. Found this tape at a storage unit back in 2022 while my dad and I clean up. And definitely a classic right here. So, yeah. And I don't think this tape do not have a print date, unfortunately. But that's alright though. July 18th, 1996. And July 30th, 1996. And both copies does have regular previews. And it does have the feature program bumper because those copies are version 1 of Sing Me a Story, Chapters of Enchantment and Beauty and the World of Music. So, yep. Twenty Street Fox movie, and this is also coming by DreamWorks and Image Movers. Although the DreamWorks logo is not shown at the beginning, only the international rights. But it has the Image Mover logo at the beginning, so yep. I think the print date is October 13th, 2001. And yes, this movie is now owned by Disney since 2019 because of 20th Street Fox. And What Lies Beneath is now owned by Paramount because it's a DreamWorks movie. Excellent 1956 movie right here. December 8th and December 19th, 2001. This is the 1991 version of Father of the Bride, starring Steve Martin, Diane Keaton, Kimberly Williams in her acting debut, B.D. Wong, and Martin Short. Both print dates are October 26, 1992. And was gonna find the original 1992 VHS with previews, but this copy is version 2 without previews, so yep. And here's Father of the Bride Part 2. May 7th, 1996. Found this tape at the St. Vincent de Paul thrift store back in August of 2017. Yeah, I found this tape at the St. Vincent de Paul thrift store back in August of 2017. So, yep. January 25th, 2002. Found this tape at a St. Vincent de Paul thrift store in Lewiston back in September of 2017. And both print dates are June 28th, 1992. And now, here are the rest of the tapes that I'm about to show. And 9 more tapes before the video has ended. Found this tape at the youth ranch back in 2020, just a few weeks before the pandemic begins. December 6th, 2000. So this is a reprint. And the 50th week of 2000. There. That way I could make some more room here. Found this tape at I think St. Vincent de Paul thrift store back in 2021. September 17th, 1992. I think I found this tape at a OUI thrift store back in March of or April of 2018. This is my first time going there to get this tape. And yes, they Netflix made a sequel to Happy Gilmore 2, which I'm never gonna watch. In which I'm sticking with the first Happy Gilmore movie, in my opinion. So, yeah. Anyways, September 10th, 1999. So printed the day and 2 years before 9/11, aka the tragic days of our lives, and the 36th week of 1999. Found this tape at a youth ranch back in, I think in 2023. Sometime in February of 2023. Amazing movie right here that stars Tom Hanks. October 18th, 1995. And the week and year code is the 41st week of 1995. Guts tape from the uh oh St. Vincent de Paul thrift store, where the youth ranch opens up back in 2017. September of 2017, that is. September 17th, 1995. Four more tapes, and that's about it for today. Guts tape from the St. Vincent de Paul thrift store back in July of 2022. Yeah, 2022. That's it. October 31st, or known as Halloween 1996. I think I found this tape at a St. Vincent de Paul thrift store back in November 2017. January 6, 1994. Guts tape from the OUI thrift store back in July of 2018. And for some odd reason, this tape is upside down. Kind of weird, huh? But at least it still plays the real thing. The print dates, the print dates are August 26th and August 29th, 1991. Focus. And finally, here's the last tape for this video. Found this tape at the OUI thrift store back in April of 2018. November 4th, 1998. Well, everybody, there you have it for my Lewiston Media Collection 2025 edition, Part 3. Stay tuned for Part 2 coming up soon. So, anyways, this is Superman Media 2002. See y'all later, and have a fun rest of your Wednesday. So,